This month in Passport on the PBS Video app, your on-demand library for the best of PBS.
This is the point where you reveal I'm not even human.
Wow! Oh my goodness!
Mentally, we're extremely fit. We have this incredible ability to adapt and persevere.
What Ballet Trocadero has done over the years is turned ballet kind of on its head.
These and other shows from your PBS station are available with Passport on the PBS Video app. Download it today.
You're watching New England Public Media, WGBY Springfield.
The question is, are they willing to commit these acts?
My mind can't see that it's the feds that's pulling the strings. They gave who they thought to be an al-Qaeda operative exactly what he had asked for.
They had no weapons. They weren't even Islamic extremists.
Tune in or stream Frontline August 10th on NEPM.
Coming up, stories we're connecting you with tonight. Using art to bring awareness to public health.
If you can use positive messages to spread health information, that it has a different impact because people kind of are motivated by joy.
A theatrical performance that explores our relationship with water amid climate change.
Everybody loves water, and I think if you're reminded of what you love, you work to save it, to protect it.
And celebrating a local restaurant that serves up food and family for 60 years.
I got goosebumps thinking about it. I really do. You know, I didn't expect this many people to come, especially this many businesses on a day like today.
We'll bring you those stories and more up next on Connecting Point.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for Connecting Point. I'm 𝗧𝗿𝘂𝘀𝘆. Over the last few years, many of the buildings, streets, and sidewalks in Springfield have been transformed with murals and messages created by street artists. This summer, the Springfield Cultural Partnership and the Community Music School partnered to form the Trust Transfer Project, a program that will see artists bring messages surrounding public health to the city's South End and metro neighborhoods. Their first project is called Chalk for Change, and Connecting Point's Ross Lipman spent the day with participating artists and shows us the messages they're bringing to the city.
On one of the hottest days of the summer, at Springfield South End Community Center, street artist Ramiro 𝗬𝗏𝗏 has a challenge ahead of him.
I'm glad you're here.
With temperatures reaching the 90s by 9 a.m. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 is starting his first of 3 chalk art pieces. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏, along with 7 other artists, are racing against the clock, creating new messages throughout the city for the Trust Transfer Project.
Trust Transfer Project is an incredible initiative that allows for artists to be, from the beginning, part of messaging health messages for the community. And so we're hoping that one artist at a time, one message at a time, we can fill our city with hope, inspiration, and encouragement to come back out as we enter into this new life after COVID-19 has impacted the community so greatly.
Each artist has been commissioned to design temporary chalk art installations, from 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏's I'm Glad You're Here in the South End to Mark Austin's message of love outside the Community Music School.
Well, when they said that they were going to allow artists to kind of use their art to kind of convey how they feel with the coronavirus and everything going on, I jumped right on it. I felt like it was great. Colors are really vibrant. I hope it brings a lot of life.
About 2 years ago, the Mass Cultural Council asked the Community Music School to be a design partner for something called Culture RX Initiative. It's basically this big idea that artists, centering artists' voices, is critical to improving public health outcomes in communities.
You may hear a song or see an image or hear a piece of poetry and you think, I'm not alone, which is so important right now because we've all felt so alone, and you can identify with art. So I think putting artists at the forefront of public health messaging, or any messaging for that matter, is incredibly important.
Speed is the name of the game today.
Timed projects aren't new.
Rain is coming.
To street artists like Nero. As the heat wave peaks in the morning, thunderstorms are on the way for the afternoon.
I got 2 more to do. Yeah.
Commonwealth Murals partnered with the Trust Transfer Project to find artists. You've likely seen their work across Springfield.
Okay.
It's a city filled with larger-than-life murals.
You could kind of start filling that in.
In total, 20 installations were completed in just a few hours, each a reflection of the artist's experience during the pandemic.
That's going to be more graffiti-esque.
Trust transfer organizers hope by giving artists the freedom to create their own designs, it'll allow Springfield residents to better connect with each message.
That's very different than having somebody tell you you should do something, right? It's your own internalizing of it, your own artistic expression of it, and then being able to share it on a platform that allows people to really see the power of the arts to transform.
If you kind of take a step forward and do this for your neighbor, do this for your family member, we can look at tomorrow as a brighter day. We can come out of this in a more hopeful way. And so we believe that if you can use positive messages to spread health information, that it has a different impact, because people kind of are motivated by joy.
Every Friday night, Connecting Point explores the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. But it doesn't stop there. You can find us online anytime for exclusive features and content. This week marks the 52nd anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. And in this week's digital exclusive, producer Dave Frazier takes a look back at this historic moment through the eyes of those who watched as it happened.
Eagle, Houston, we see you on the steerable, over.
My family gathered around the television to watch the lunar landing. What made that extra special for us is that my grandfather was in town to watch with us. This man, born in 1896, with a horse and buggies, watched the lunar module land on the moon and men walk on the moon. The way we like to put it is from carts and candles to computers and control modules.
Don't miss this digital exclusive available online right now at nepm.org/connectingpoint. The Springfield Museums recently unveiled a new exhibit entitled 𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗅, Tradition and Descent, which will be available for viewing at the D'Amour Museum of Fine Arts through January 2nd, 2022. It features rare works spanning 3 decades of internationally renowned artist and social activist 𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗅's career, presenting artwork that represents his engagement with traditional Chinese materials, methods, and artifacts. 𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗅's work addresses social justice while also exploring the cultural present that is informed by the past. And I spoke with Maggie North, curator of art for the Springfield Museums, to learn more.
𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗅 is an artist as well as a social activist whose work has international renown and also, I think, international importance. He works across media, and he's been described as a filmmaker, as an installation artist, a conceptual artist, a political dissident, and a provocateur. But as folks who come to the exhibition will see, his works speak to issues of universal importance, issues like climate change, like human rights, the importance of free speech. And so these are issues that I think viewers from Beijing, China to Springfield, Massachusetts can relate to.
This exhibition was curated exclusively for the Springfield Museums and features rare works. How were you able to decide which pieces of artwork to include in this exhibit?
Oh, it is always so challenging to make those decisions, especially with an artist who has been so prolific. And we really chose them based on the themes that are highlighted within the exhibition. The theme of tradition, especially Chinese materials, traditional Chinese ideas about art making, which 𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗅 is constantly recontextualizing, repurposing, sometimes in really radical ways, like painting a Coca-Cola logo on a Han Dynasty vase. And so we were driven by that interest in this aspect, this really multifaceted aspect of his practice, but also interested in his role as a dissident artist. He has been really targeted by Chinese authorities due to many of his expressions of free speech, his ideas about human rights, which were not always in line with the government under which he was working. And his art, as he has said, is really inseparable from his life. He's constantly playing with these traditional materials and motifs to prod at history, but also to prod at politics and the way in which we are always living in the present, but we need to get to know our past.
As you were just describing, Ai Weiwei makes the old new again, using his traditional Chinese heritage. In what ways will we experience this throughout the exhibit?
Great question. Many of the artworks on view in the exhibition use porcelain or wood joinery or jade. These are materials that have been used in China for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Porcelain in particular is a medium that visitors will see throughout the exhibit. And in English, it's colloquially referred to as China. So it has this incredible allegorical power to stand in for the country of China itself. So visitors will see a lot of porcelain within the exhibit, but porcelain that's being used in really new and different ways. For example, to represent oil spills in order to generate conversation about the impact of industry on the environment. Or porcelain being used to create tiny sunflower seeds, which are a popular snack food, but are also a loaded symbol in China because during the Cultural Revolution, the citizens of China were described as sunflowers and their leader was described as the sun. So these sunflower seeds help us speak to the relationship of the individual to the collective and of really prodding questions about how we all operate within our societies. Also, as I mentioned, there are traditional actual artifacts that Ai Weiwei uses as his raw materials for constructing artwork. So a Chinese table that he has turned into a sculpture, or using marble to craft a surveillance camera, something that is totally of our contemporary era. So bringing that clash of that past and present together. But in addition to using old materials to make new statements, Ai Weiwei uses new materials to make different statements about older motifs. So within the exhibition, visitors will also see a stunning and really, really colorful set of 12 zodiacs that are made out of bright Legos. So our visitors of all ages are going to recognize these as Legos, but again, it's a multi-layered work. It speaks to that tradition of the Chinese zodiac, as well as to a history that is involved with a particular set of zodiac heads that was on view at an imperial palace, but was eventually sacked during the 1860s. And so this is a work that it's fun, it's magnetic, but it's also really, really layered and speaks to ideas about international politics.
So that zodiac piece that you were just referencing is the one that caught my eye naturally because it's visually appealing. And as a child, I grew up playing with Legos, right? With so many thought-provoking pieces, which one is your favorite?
Oh my goodness, it's always a hard question. One of my favorite works in the exhibition, or at least one of the pieces that I find most provocative, it's a Han Dynasty vase on which Ai Weiwei has painted the Coca-Cola logo. It's a controversial piece because, of course, he is adjusting a piece of cultural heritage and an ancient object, but it brings our attention back to the fact that this object was once, not so unlike a Coca-Cola bottle, a functional object, something that would have been used to hold liquid, something that would have been produced en masse. So his work is, as we've discussed, sometimes provocative. It really pushes the boundaries, but it begs us to ask these really interesting and important questions which are incredibly relevant to society today.
What do you hope that people in our region take away when visiting this exhibit?
I hope that the visitors who come to this exhibition will walk away with a new understanding of Ai Weiwei's work and the ramifications of the ideas that he presents to us. And the last part of the exhibition, as you're walking through, actually includes an area where visitors are invited to respond to some really important questions. Questions like, what is the purpose of art, and how can art promote social change? Or if you had the chance to change something, what would you change? So I hope that visitors are able to engage beyond the museum walls and into the community to really take some of these ideas home and think about how they apply to all of our lives.
It was 1966 when George Bayless first arrived in the United States from Greece with his sights set on achieving his American dream. 8 years later, after working several jobs and putting in countless hours, he purchased a pizza shop in Greenfield, Massachusetts. 2 years later, in 1976, the rest of his family joined him here stateside and helped to make Village Pizza, the institution that it is in Greenfield today. This year, 2 of George's grandchildren organized a block party to not only celebrate the restaurant's 60-year anniversary, but also give back by donating their profits to the Greater Western Mass Food Bank and the Shriners Hospital. Connecting Point's Brian Sullivan brings us the story.
It was a rainy and drizzly Sunday in a summer seemingly full of days that looked just like this one. But on this particular Sunday of July 11th, 2021, no amount of moisture falling from the sky was about to dampen the spirits of anyone at the Bank Row block party in Greenfield. This was, after all, a celebration of 60 years for the little pizza shop that could. George Bayless and his sister Vicky, the son and daughter of Chris Bayless, who is part owner of Village Pizza, organized this event, bringing in countless local businesses to chip in one way or another. But in spite of being a tight-knit community here in the heart of Franklin County, combined with the popularity of the local pizza place that stood the test of time for 6 decades, it was still an element of surprise to the overall turnout.
I got goosebumps thinking about it. I really do. You know, I didn't expect this many people to come, especially this many businesses on a day like today. I would have expected a phone call in the morning saying, I'm sorry, I can't make it.
But they did, and several of those businesses had tents set up for the block party, whether it was the local gym, a farm stand, coffee, and everything in between. But judging by the number of people waiting for a slice, or even the size of the crowd that surrounded the pizza eating contest, it was clear that Village was the main attraction, with so many in attendance having some kind of special memory about the family-run restaurant.
When he first opened up here 60 years ago, I was one of his customers. They make the best pizzas around that I've ever had, and they're very wonderful people to, to deal with, to buy from. It was just wonderful.
This is a place that people just come to, and people have been coming to for years. For me, back through middle school and high school and college, and every time you came back from college, the first place you went to on the weekend was Village.
In the mid-70s, I went to Alaska for vacation and decided never to come back. My baby sister, Michelle, would go to Village Pizza, buy me pizzas, and she would freeze them and send them to me in Alaska.
And if someone is willing to have pizzas mailed to them across the continent, then waiting a few minutes in line is child's play.
This here is the line for pizza, and I think it really speaks volumes about just how popular Village Pizza is in this town. But this whole event is about a lot more than a 60-year anniversary. This is a celebration of the American dream, which for people like me who were born in this country and are still chasing it, may still feel elusive. But to talk to Chris Bayless, it's an entirely different story.
We are the American dream. My father came here in '66. Worked very hard. He had almost three full-time jobs. He worked 112 hours a week. Then we followed, came here in 76. And ever since then, we've been here, working and living the American dream. It's what you put in it. The opportunity, I think, is here for everybody that wants it.
The Bayless family may not be the original 1961 owners, having purchased Village in 1974. But the 400-pound mixer, that's original, as is the scale, And while we're at it, so is the work ethic that brings his family to the shop every morning at 5:30 to prep and keeps them here all day to make time with their customers. Now, all of those years of service have culminated in a one-day celebration, a chance for father and son to soak in the moment side by side while donating the day's profits to two worthy causes.
It means the world to me. It means giving back to the community. I want to thank the people that were part of this place, that supported us, the town, and the whole country that gave us the opportunity to better our lives.
The Festival of Performance and the Serious Play Theater Ensemble have teamed up to present Moving Water, a theater piece centered on climate change and the global water crisis. The production will be premiering live to a sold-out crowd on July 22nd and will also have an online option available for viewing beginning July 30th. This multimedia physical theater production is designed to bring audiences a deeper understanding of our relationship to water. And I spoke with Sabrina Hamilton, the artistic director of the Festival of Performance, and Rosalyn Driscoll, dramaturge for Moving Water, to learn more.
It occurred to me that with all the bad news, people need the good news. They need to connect to their relationship to water. Everybody loves water. And I think if you're reminded of what you love, you work to save it, to protect it, to conserve and cherish it. So that was the original impulse.
Rosalyn, your fine art inspired the creation of Moving Water, and a lot of your work has focused on the inner experience and physicality of the body. Where did this interest in sensory perception begin for you, and how did you channel that for this piece in particular?
I think it came from being a child in the woods and the streams of where I grew up in Minnesota, that was a natural part of growing up. And there became a point at which there was a separation through my education between mind and body, and I felt it was time to bring that back together. And that led to the engagement with water on a sensory basis, because that's where we live. And that's really the way we know water most intimately. And so this production has all the dimensions, all the sensory dimensions, the sound and the light, and even there are moments when the sound vibrates the body so that it becomes a visceral experience of what's going on stage.
Now, upon exiting the performance, attendees will be met with a hand-washing ritual that's designed to invoke the relationship that all beings have to water. What other ways throughout the performance will people be reminded of this relationship?
I mean, you literally see water in that there's a water tank on stage, which came from some of your early experiments that in some of the earlier phases where you were working with tanks of water and reflecting it up onto a large projection screen. So we have water projections, but a tank of water that moves, and then you see that image. It's in the text. So different audience members sort of have different primary senses, I think. And I think we've just hit just about all of them in this piece.
Now, climate change is disputed by some, and in fact, you have even included a character in the performance that is a climate change denier. Why did you want to include this character, and what do you say to people who take this stance on the matter?
It's important to remember that we don't all come into a theater as one, and that it's important to represent lots of different voices. Otherwise, it's sort of a pitch piece. And instead, it needs to really bring all the voices to the table it can. And then we will also be having post-show discussions with members of the creative team, of course, but also some guest experts or people who've really had water central in their work for a long time.
Recently, I witnessed firsthand the water crisis out west at Lake Mead, where the reservoir has reached its lowest point, according to the Washington Post. And it honestly really resonated with me just, witnessing that in person. What are some ways that humans can be really mindful of their water consumption?
I think it's partly a matter of being aware of the implications of one's water use. So it's about balancing. It's about being responsible for your own family and your own, perhaps your own community. But then, each of us is part of a watershed that we can be responsible for. Each of us can learn where our water comes from and how to protect that.
It's so much a part of the local legislative process right now, especially as we're looking at a lot of the massive solar installations. So many towns are having to rethink their solar bylaws because what's happening is that they're clear cutting. Right across the road from me, they were proposing clear cutting 40 acres of land on a fairly steep grade right above a river that is around a trout hatchery. And the implications for this are just huge in terms of how that will affect it. So every single one of us is finding it in small or large ways is cropping up.
How have you found theater to be an effective medium to create and present performances that bring awareness to these social issues?
I think it's because it touches the heart and that it creates, I always like to think of it as like dropping a pebble in a pond and you have rings that spread out. And my metric is not how many or how much, it's how sticky can we make the experience? How long can those ripples reverberate? And I think reading an article can be terrific at that, but getting into somebody's, when you see the hairs on people's arms rise up during a performance, that image is going to stay.
That does it for Connecting Point for July 23rd, 2021. Remember, you can always find the stories that you saw tonight, as well as exclusive features, digital-only content, and more online anytime at nepm.org/connectingpoint. We leave you tonight with some snapshots of our favorite sunset moments from throughout New England in honor of National Capture the Sunset Week. But please be sure to join us again next Friday night at 6 right here on New England Public Media for more stories of the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. I'm 𝗖𝗍𝗪 𝙂𝗎. Thanks for watching and have a great evening.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
How do you capture and sum up a concert with one image?
I'm a rock fan. I want to see that picture and I want to hear it. I want to feel it.
I really felt like I was part of the band.